What's up, everybody? ACP, present, let's go. Yeah, it's been a while since we've done a stream. I've been moving. As you can see, I'm at a new location. I got to get my bookshelf over here still to the new crib and get everything set up, get my Midwestern Marx logo set up. But a lot going on in the world. A lot going on in the world. So I definitely had to do a stream today. Carlos might be joining us later. I'm not sure. I also have a broken tooth, so just ignore that. I'm getting it fixed on the 17th. I got to get a crown, so wrestling problems. But I had so much clarified for me from the Marxist Engels show tonight. Is that Alexander McKay, the Marx Engels Lenin Institute? Yeah, he's pretty great. He's pretty great. How's it going, everybody? Good to be back. Good to be back. Hopefully, Carlos will join us later. I have the wrong logo here at the top. Let me know how the audio sounds because I am at a new apartment. So I had to reset up all of my streaming stuff, my camera, my microphone, everything else. But yeah, we're just going to jump right into it today. That's not what I want. How do I switch the logo? There it is. There it is. All right. I think I used the old logo for the thumbnail, but that's all right. That's all right. People will be happy that we're streaming today. Wish you streamed more. Yeah, I'm sorry. I want to do more. I've just been really, really busy lately. I'm really busy coaching kids in wrestling, making TikToks, and worrying about my friends who are deployed in the Middle East because we are run by psychopathic Epstein associates who will do anything for money and will do anything to cover up their crimes on Epstein's Island that we all knew or that we all know they committed. So, Mike pointed more at my mouth. I can try. I can certainly try, my friend. Yeah, how's everybody doing? We have plenty to cover today. It's been a long time. New setup. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. New setup today. New apartment for me. Moved into a little bit nicer place because things are going well. In terms of my career, things are not going well in terms of global events. Well, I mean, Tel Aviv getting rocked is pretty good to see. But yeah, Trump and JD Vance and Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth and all these scumbags who promised to bring an end to the neoconservative agenda, promised to bring an end to this era of the United States being the world police and the global hegemon, they sold us out. They sold out the American people. They got us to vote for them on an anti-war platform, and they used it to create a war that the neoconservatives have wanted since the early 2000s. A war that's been talked about since I remember them talking about the Iran war when I was in middle school or even elementary school. One of my earliest political memories is asking my mom if we were at war with Iran too, because I kept hearing on the news that we might invade Iran in addition to Iraq. But even George Bush wasn't psychopathic enough to attack Iran. And of course, it's a very different thing than attacking a country like Iraq or Syria or Libya, because Iran is a very powerful civilization. They're an educated civilization. They have their own military, their own ballistic missiles, the ability to defend themselves, and we're seeing that now. And I think what hurts me the most, not only that, one of my friends is texting me right now, worried about our friends who are deployed over there in the Middle East. He's furious. This is a Trump voter. Who feels betrayed and sold out by the Trump administration. My friends and family are terrified for the people that we know who are in the military. And of course, I don't support them being in the military. They got brainwashed. They're fighting for the Epstein regime. They're not defending my freedom. They're making the world less free. They're making the world less safe. And I would tell them that to their faces. But at the same time, they're my friends and I'm worried about them. There's already been 2 people from Iowa killed in this war. 2 people from Iowa killed in a war halfway around the world. in a country that's never attacked us, a country that we should have, nothing to do with other than trade relations and mutually beneficial diplomatic relations. But because this pedophile, Donald Trump, this disgusting freak of a man who knows no God except money, because he decided to start a war and bomb a bunch of primary schools and people's homes, now my friends are at risk. And like I said, there have been two people from Iowa already killed, one from Indianola and one from West Des Moines. One of them was 20 years old, not even old enough to get a beer, but yet still old enough to die for Israel in this country, because that's what we prioritize here. And it's truly one of the most disgusting and infuriating things I've ever seen in my life. At a certain point, you feel like you'll stop being enraged, right? You'll stop feeling this sense of moral, or this sense of moral outrage, this sense of righteous anger towards the world and politics and everything that's going on, because just nothing surprises you anymore. But I don't think I'll ever reach that stage. I think watching a bunch of pedophiles send a bunch of regular young Americans to die in a senseless war, not to mention all, the thousands of Iranians who are being killed right now. It'll never not make me furious and ready to fight a war of our own. The only war that would be justified in the world today, which is a war against the banking class, a war against the elites, and a war against these Epstein associates who think that who have the arrogance to send young men and women to their deaths so that they can accumulate more profits and control the entire world geopolitically. So that's where I'm at with this. But I hope you all are doing well. I hope I hope your cortisol rates aren't too spiked like mine. Clavicular would not approve of how spiked my cortisol has been all day. If you guys follow me on Twitter and TikTok, I've been furiously posting. But of course, TikTok, Carlos and my videos, they've kind of come unglued recently. Like, they've gotten a few more views. But a lot of our TikToks for a while were getting stuck at like 15 views. And I have 376,000 followers on TikTok. And my videos were getting stuck at like 3, 4, 5 views. Because the app was bought by Larry Ellison, this ultra-Zionist billionaire, the owner of Oracle, and the world's largest donor to the IDF. And now my light just went out. But honestly, this kind of looks better, doesn't it? I don't know. I kind of like the dark background. What do you guys think? One's in the chat if I should leave it like this. Two's in the chat if I should fix the light. Thank you, Duck Hash Browns. Generous super chat here, $50. Thank you very much. Obviously, we're not taking any APAC money over here, not taking any corporate money, not even taking any advertiser money, and I've been offered. So, you like this better? Ones? All right. All right. We'll leave it. We'll leave it. Thank you. Make sure you like and share the stream as well, so we can get our message out there even further. Thanks for letting me know, though. We'll keep it like this. I kind of like it too. Dark Liger. That's what today calls for, because it's a dark day. Haven't tapped in for a bit. Glad you're still going strong. Glad to support a fellow Sock Prairie Eagle. Back to reading Ayn Rand to reconfirm why libertarians are awful. That's awesome, man. Thank you. I think I know who this is. Comrade from my high school who has been a longtime Patreon supporter. So thank you, brother. It's really good to know that our message is having an effect, not just in, not just with people who already agree with us, or that's not the right word, because I'm not saying that I'm the reason why you're into Marxism and left-wing politics, but it's good to know I'm having an effect in rural locations, rural areas like Sauk Prairie, Wisconsin. The home of the first Culvers, by the way. That's what we're fighting for here, folks. We're fighting to bring Culvers and McDonald's everywhere. Yeah, reading nothing will make you more of a communist or an anti-libertarian than reading Ayn Rand. I was so mad when I found out that Ayn Rand's books are fiction. You are the reason. Thank you, comrade. Another comrade from Iowa here. You are indispensable to the party, Eddie. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, comrades. That means a lot. It really does. Why is my screen like shaking? I swear I'm not even bumping the table. Anyway, we'll power through. Yeah, join the American Communist Party, guys. It's time to fight. There's one party that opposes itself directly, not to Democrats or Republicans, but to both parties. And more importantly, the Israeli lobby and the corporations and banks that control both parties and are the driving force behind this war. Of course, it's Israel. Of course, we have to take into account blackmail and the fact that Trump was on the Epstein list and he's launching this war to get people to forget that. But at the end of the day, none of this would be possible without the capitalist system, right? None of this would be possible if we had a system like Iran's that revolved around the people or even, their faith rather than a system that revolves around money. We're going to talk about Iran's system a little bit today. Imprison them all. There really need to be mass trials. There needs to be like Nuremberg trials. These people need to be put on trial and they need to be punished for their crimes. And, if they're not punished in this life, hopefully there's an afterlife where they're punished in the next. These people like Tulsi Gabbard, who lied to us and told us that they were going to be and built their careers off of being anti-war.
End the regime change wars. End the regime change wars. All right, let's attack Iran. I'm going to have the blood of thousands on my hands.
There's a special place in hell for people like that. They truly do deserve to be tortured in eternity for the way that they spent this life. Deceiving the American people. I really thought for a second that there may be a chance that we would go 4 years without war when Trump got elected and appointed Tulsi Gabbard to his cabinet. But what a sellout, evil warmonger that freak turned out to be. This is exactly why gulags were justified. This is exactly why we need a Stalin. I've seen people saying that recently. Like, I understand why Stalin just shot and imprisoned people, right? It's the people like this that we're getting put in gulags by Stalin, and it's a good thing. Iran doesn't have a Rothschild-owned central bank. That's why all of Iran's banks, all of them are in the hands of the state, which means they're not in the hands of Israeli, U.S., and British bankers like so much of the rest of the world. And that's what's really at the core of this, right? They don't, I don't even have to say this to you guys. They don't care about human rights. They don't care about freeing Iranians. They don't even care about getting rid of the hijab law so that Iranian women can start OnlyFans accounts. They care about controlling Iran's banking system and also their natural resources to a lesser degree. But at this stage of capitalism's development in the era of finance capital, it really comes down to wanting to debt trap people. And do you know what practice is completely banned in Iran due to Islamic law? Usury. You are not allowed to loan people money at ridiculous interest rates in Iran so that you can trap them in debt and make money out of it. Okay, now the light wants to turn back on. The light turned back on as soon as I said usury is banned. So that must be God telling us. That's Allah telling us that we need to ban usury in our own country. That's at the core of this, for real. In addition to all of the other factors. Yep. And we're going to talk a lot about their revolution today. And it's not a communist country. There's a communist party in Iran called the Tudeh Party. They helped bring Mohammad Mossadegh to power in 1951. And they weren't the faction that ended up winning out. It ended up being the Islamic faction. But in terms of their economic system, it is very, very socialist. They call it Islamic economics, sort of a mix between capitalism and socialism, but it's much closer to socialism, much closer. Christianity and Islam ban usury, but politicians want us to forget it. Not even just politicians, but evangelical pastors in America. I've had this debate with my parents' pastor, who is, a very right-wing conservative person. I sent him all of the Bible verses on usury, and he didn't have any response for me. This is a guy who studied the Bible, who studied theology in college and got a degree in it. And he had no answer when I asked him, what about all these things Jesus said about not debt trapping people? Why don't you care about these things? Why are you exclusively focused on like gay marriage and things like this while, supporting the debt trapping of the banks? All right. I got to play the intro real quick because I haven't played the intro yet and we're already 15 minutes in. I'm just rambling. But we'll continue with the show after this. I got a lot of good stuff planned for you guys. So stick around, like and share the stream. I'll be back in a second.
High Sheriff Hazard is a hard man to be. High Sheriff is his only plan. He digs through pockets, takes what he can. For he's High Sheriff Hazard. He caught me one evening and here's what he said. You look like a Russian, you look like a red. And if you're fond of your skin and your head, beware the High Sheriff of Hazard.
All right. The light turned out again, so ramble on, says CJP. I'm glad you like my rambles. Evangelicalism is Christianity with capitalism's characteristics. You're not completely wrong. You're not completely wrong, my friend. But at the same time, if we had like a Christian revolution in America, I would take it. Anything to overthrow this Epstein regime. For those who don't know, let's talk about Iran's revolution just for a quick second. I made a post about this recently about the very important figure in Shia Islam, Hussein ibn Ali. So, for those who don't know, what happened in Iran was they were under the rule of the Shah, which was a Western-backed monarch, Western-backed dictator. And Ruhollah Khomeini, not Khamenei, but Khomeini, the first Ayatollah of Iran, was a religious leader. It's called like a Marja something. I don't know. I was raised Christian, so forgive me for my lack of understanding about Islam. But anyways, he gave a speech denouncing the Shah and comparing him to Yazid. Now, in the Islamic tradition, Yazid was this dynastic monarchical ruler who was sort of a representative of what the Islamic Caliphate, the Islamic State, had become, which was a hereditary dynasty, meaning they had kings that it was passed down by lineage rather than democratically. And Khomeini was arrested and imprisoned by the Savak secret police, the Shah's secret police, for comparing the Shah to Yazid, this figure in Islamic history. Now, Yazid famously killed at the Battle of Karbala this man in the picture, Hussein ibn Ali, because Hussein ibn Ali refused to legitimize Yazid's rule. And before any kind of uprising against Yazid could materialize, he was ambushed and killed. And this became a figure in Islam especially important to Shias for his resistance to unjust authority. So basically, Khomeini was invoking this guy to say that this isn't just an abstract spiritual thing, but this has practical implications. If we are truly to follow the Quran and truly to follow our religion, we need to rebel against the Western-backed Shah, the way that Hussein ibn Ali rebelled against Yazid. So he gave this speech in 1963, basically saying this, and he was imprisoned, which led to mass uprisings by his followers all across the country. And of course, these uprisings were put down very violently by the Shah with the help of the United States and Britain. And Khomeini was sent into exile. And over the next few years, this sort of theology, this idea that there were practical implications that should be drawn, real political implications that should be drawn from the Quran and the story of Hussein, spread across Iran like wildfire. And that is what led to the 1979 Iranian Revolution, the Islamic Revolution, which ousted the Shah. They basically said, we're going to fight against this unjust hereditary dynastic rule the same way that Hussein ibn Ali did. And not only was it successful, but they were also able to completely kick out the West, nationalize all of the banks, and to nationalize all of their natural resources. So these no longer belonged in the hands of Western shareholders, corporations, and bankers. And, therein lies the real reason that the United States hates Iran so much and has always wanted regime change. Before that time, Iran supported apartheid South Africa. Iran was allied with Israel. Iran was basically a puppet state of the U.S. And since then, they've become a constant thorn in the side of the U.S., aiding the Palestinians, aiding Hezbollah, fighting Israel at every turn, and preventing their economy from being pillaged by Western shareholders. He was Muhammad's grandson, yes. Yes, I forgot to point that out. Thank you. So this is an extremely based and interesting form of revolution, a type of revolution that hadn't been seen in years at the time. It would be like in America if some really popular priest or pastor read Michael Hudson's theory about sin and debt and started preaching this ideology that Jesus was actually against debt and against the big banks and against the merchants and against debt trapping. And that led to a Christian revolution that was also socialist in its character, at least its economic character. So that's essentially what happened to Iran in 1979. And then Khomeini died in 89, I believe, and was replaced by Khamenei, who continued that revolution. And so while the revolution is not Marxist-Leninist, it's Muslim in character, it's still extremely based, anti-imperialist, anti-Western, socialistic. And the U.S. is sending young Americans to fight and die so that Iran can be turned back into a republic of McDonald's, so that Iranian women, rather than wearing the hijab, they can dress like hookers and have OnlyFans, which is why you see all of these Iranian monarchist women all over your timeline saying,
I don't care if people in my home country get bombed. It's better than having to wear the hijab.
and if you check their profiles, every freaking time they're in London, they're in Los Angeles, they're never actually in Iran. And they're saying,
I don't care if we get bombed.
and it's like, bitch, who's we? What do you mean we? You've never been bombed in your life. You're advocating for the people who live in your home country to be bombed so that you can go back to your home country and start an OnlyFans account. And it's truly like the most despicable traitorous behavior. And of course, you know, ICE and all of the Trump's mass deportations, they'll never target these people. They'll never target the Cuban Gusanos or the Iranian monarchists because they make up part of Trump's base, because they hope that Trump will overthrow their home country. It's so vile. It is so vile. So that's a little bit about the Iranian Revolution that you should know, a little bit of background on that. And, you know, sure, whatever. If you want Iran to be secular instead of Islamic, okay. Then why the hell did the British and the US coup Mohammad Mossadegh in 1953? Because Iran elected a secular leader named Mohammad Mossadegh. He wasn't a communist. In fact, he was an anti-communist, but the communists in Iran, the Tudeh party, supported him because he had left-wing economic policies, but because he nationalized the oil that was being controlled by the British, they ousted him in a coup and replaced him with the Shah. So even if you want to criticize Iran for being a theocracy, for having a religious leaning to their revolution, or really a religious basis to their revolution, that was created by the West too. They were going to be a secular democratic country. And then their secular democratic leader was ousted in a coup because he didn't let the US and the British have the oil. So there's really no criticism of Iran that the Western elites can make. No legitimate criticism, which is why you're now getting these ridiculous justifications. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. You know who passed the fatwa, which is like a religious law or a religious political code in Iran that barred them from ever creating a nuclear weapon? It was Ali Khamenei himself. The Ayatollah who the US just killed was the one who issued a decree saying that we are not allowed to build a nuclear weapon because it's against Islam and the Quran, because nuclear weapons kill people indiscriminately, so we're not even going to allow ourselves to have one. Khamenei was the one who passed that law, that fatwa. So the US kills him and starts bombing elementary schools and homes so Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. They're making it more likely than ever that Iran will produce a nuclear weapon, because whoever replaces Khamenei probably will want to. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. They should have a nuclear weapon. If they did, none of this would be happening right now because the US would be scared. They would be free and living in peace like the DPRK. So every justification is pure nonsense. These people are fucking idiots. And the Americans who believe it are literally cows. Their brains have been transplanted out of their heads and replaced with cattle brains. These boomers and these Gen Xers who sit watching Fox News with their mouths open, fucking drooling. Go Trump, go Trump, go, bomb them. You are the reason that Iran is probably going to produce a nuclear weapon now. And you claim that's your justification. They can't have a nuke. They can't have a nuke. You're going to pressure them into creating a nuke. Fucking idiots. These people have no idea about Middle Eastern politics. They think every group in the Middle East is the same. Thank you, Allegory Espresso. Congrats on your move. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm enjoying this new house. It's much, much nicer. A lot of Muslims are saying they need nukes now. Yeah, I mean, that's the best option for Iran. They just need the political and religious will in the country in order to do that. And I'm sure they have it now, right? Wouldn't you want to create a nuke if another country was coming here and bombing your neighbors and bombing your children while they go to school and try to get an education, I'd want to nuke the shit out of whatever country did that to my kids. That's a fact. Thank you for the $10 super chat, comrade. Israel is a death cult. Maybe they want Iran to have a nuke so they can get Armageddon. Probably. No, they just want greater Israel. Been reading a lot into the DPRK recently. Most based country on earth. No country, no revolution today is as devoted and patriotic and devoted to the international struggle for communism as the DPRK. Not even China is on that level of devotion and steadfastness. Rumor Israel's moving nukes to the ready. I'm sure they are, dude. I could totally see Israel dropping a nuke on Iran. I could totally see them becoming the second country in history to use nuclear weapons. You kidding me? People talk about we can't allow psychos in Iran to have a nuke. Oh, yeah, okay. But we can allow Bibi Netanyahu to have a nuke? The mass murderer of children? Makes a lot of sense. And yes, if they take out Iran, there will be a very fast pivot to Russia and China. And China needs to look at this closely. If you're a Chinese communist, you don't think they'll kill you next? You don't think these psychopaths will risk everything to bomb you and take away your revolution and steal your resources and debt trap your people? Absolutely they will. Wonder how those Trump fanatics view the Marine who stood up against the war and got his arm broken. Yeah, we're going to talk about that later today. What a hero that guy is. Do not besmirch cows like that. Sorry, yeah, that was a huge insult to cows. Huge insult to cows. 1 second, guys. Ooh, $5 super chat. Thank you, comrade. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. What happened between you and Danny Shaw? Yeah, you're a little late, brother. But thank you for the super chat. Danny was in the American Communist Party, and then he betrayed us because he's a man-child who got his feelings hurt. And let's just be real. Danny's probably a Fed. The people who Danny supports in Haiti are literally backed by the U.S. government. And Danny flies around the world all the time with what money? He doesn't really have a job. He's a sober coach, but he has all this money to travel the world. And everywhere he goes, he seems to be aligned with U.S. government-backed groups. And on the issue of Haiti, we tried to push the revolutionary line, whereas he was pushing the U.S. State Department line. And he had a meltdown because we wouldn't listen to him. I'm the expert. I'm the expert. And he quit the party and made a bunch of videos about how we're evil and horrible because we wouldn't listen to him and learn from his expertise as if he is an enormous dumbass. And he also slept with some PSL girl in a driveway at one of our events. So there's that. That's not related. We wouldn't have kicked him out for that. But so he quit and tried to wreck the party, the one party in America that's standing up directly to the Epstein class and the existing regime, because he's probably an infiltrator. And I've heard that from Danny's been kicked out of every single party that he's ever been in, which, what does that tell you? Driveway Diddy. I saw somebody tweet today, Danny Shaw is the John Fetterman of communism. Yeah, I was fucking dying. That's so funny. Danny Shaw is the John Fetterman of communism. That's why we kicked him out. Keep up the good work, Eddie. How's your working out going? Good. I've been really busy lately, but follow me on the Heavy app, HEVY, at Edward Tulane. Sorry, I got to go to the bathroom, so I'm going to do a short intermission here. Don't leave. Stick with us. Here we go. This is what I'll play at intermission. And then we'll get into some of the video news stories from today, and I'll not just ramble the entire time. That's not what I want. Why am I sharing that screen? One second, folks. Okay, I'll be right back. Just got to run to the bathroom. Am I winning? This kid's pretty good. I ended up whooping him, though. I think I teched him. 2. Why does Eddie have a hammer? Why doesn't Eddie have the hammer and sickle? I should have a singlet like that made. On God. On God. They sell those. One of my friends had a CCCP singlet. I was like so jealous of him. I'm like, how did you get that when I don't have that? One of my friends in the background of that video, one of my really good friends, is in the special forces now. And I'm extremely worried that he's going to get deployed to freaking Iran or somewhere in the region and end up, oh shoot, I forgot to close the door. Yeah, it's hard because of wrestling. I have a lot of brainwashed friends who are in the military, and obviously I support Iran and I hope they're victorious, but I truly hope all of my buddies come home safe. My heart won't allow me to root for young Americans to be killed. I'm a national socialist. Would you debate me sometime? Maybe. Thank you for the 5. What is your do you have like a big account? I if you hopped on one of my TikTok streams sometime, maybe I'd talk. But like I'm so busy nowadays, if I'm gonna set up a debate, it's gotta be worth my time. But yeah, it might be down. Let me know. Do you follow me on X? You could send me a DM on X. Maybe I'll see it. Recruit military members and veterans to the ACP. Got to, right? Tattoo, left top, back shoulder. I have 4 tattoos on my leg, my left leg, and then I have the hammer and sickle as a stick and poke on my right leg. One of my friends gave me. No, somebody with 300K followers debated me though. See, that doesn't help me any. That doesn't help me actually grow my party or my account, but yeah, find a way to shoot me an email or something. We'll try to make it happen. You sent me $10 of super chat, so I owe you at least 10 minutes of debating. I would debate anybody, but there's limited time. Mohammed Morandi did a good interview today on UK's Channel 4. Yeah, I saw Michael Tracy melting down about it. It always sucks when friends or family members are in the military. Yeah, especially when your pedophile president's starting a war. But anyways, did you guys see that oops, I got to reshare my screen. Did you guys see that they were bombing decoys and Israel was posting it as if they were hitting real targets? Check this out. This is so funny. If you haven't seen this, you're going to have a good laugh right now.
Air Force. The only problem. So Israel uploaded this video recently claiming that they are obliterating the Iranian Air Force. The only problem is that this was literally a painting of a helicopter that was put on the ground as a decoy. If you watch closely, you can see that the rotors don't spin or anything. It's literally just a painting. I guess Iran has mastered the art of Wile E. Coyote warfare. And there are videos like this all across the internet right now because I guess before the war, Iran knew that Israel was going to attack, so they moved most of their air force underground. And then above ground, they painted a bunch of pictures of fighter jets and military helicopters to use as decoys, which the Israelis have completely fallen for. This is what happens when you try to take on a country that's been preparing for this war for like 40 years now. And this is what I've been trying to tell people about war with Iran. This is not a country like Libya, Syria, or Iraq that can't really defend itself. The Iranians have serious military capacity, and they've been strategizing for this for years. Their country has powerful weapons, and it's built like a literal fortress. I think when this is all over, the Trump administration and the Israelis are going to be sitting on one big fat L.
Oh, light went out again. The train's going by too. So yeah, this kind of stuff is why they just started indiscriminately carpet bombing civilians in Tehran. Because when they try to fight fair, they just get wrecked. When they try to actually target military targets instead of women, children, and civilians, they end up hitting decoys and paintings of helicopters on the ground. Because, of course, Iran was smart and moved most of their air force underground. But I can show you guys that Michael Tracy thing later. He basically shit on Professor Morandi and said and was mad that Morandi said Iran is fighting Epstein soldiers. The U.S. has Epstein soldiers because Michael Tracy thinks Epstein did nothing wrong because he wishes he would have got invited to the island because he's a pedophile, and you can literally see that by taking one look at him because he's a disgusting, sweaty, freakish gremlin who's as ugly on the outside as he is on the inside. So he was attacking Professor Morandi because Professor Morandi doesn't want to be on Epstein's island because he's not a pedophile like Michael Tracy. So that's basically all that is. I made this tweet that went viral or somewhat viral, 8.1. They literally hit them with the Wile E. Coyote, and I turned Wile E. Coyote into the Ayatollah using AI. Yeah, they must have been watching American cartoons. Speaking of American cartoons, do you guys remember when Trump drone striked Qasem Soleimani? And this Iranian religious leader was like, how do we respond? How do we respond? America doesn't have heroes like Qasem Soleimani. All of their heroes are fictional. What are we supposed to kill SpongeBob or Spider-Man? That was one of my favorite lines ever because it's so true. All of our heroes are like these mentally disabled celebrities with like 2 brain cells. Like our version of Qasem Soleimani is like Sexy Red talking about, my booty hole brown, pound town, just dumbing down our population. Someone is paying Tracy, gotta be, right? There's no reason you would disgrace yourself that much. Like, even if you are a pedo, you'd think you would hide it more. Somebody's got to be paying that little freak. Michael Tracy and Hanani are bearing themselves in new shit every day. Yeah, they're just freaks. They're freaks. Okay, my light is schizophrenic right now. I guess I got to get a new ring light. I do not know what's going on with that. Thank you for the $10 from New Zealand. Appreciate it, John O. 8 kilograms. Thank you very much. I hope you weigh more than 8 kilograms. That's not a lot. Hopefully that's a reference to something else, but very good super chat here. Kameni's passing is resonating through the left. I saw Anna on Piers commenting on his courage against the Epstein regime. Plus, she pushed back against Piers' Zio propaganda about the Iran protesters. Yes, absolutely. I was saying that when because dude, I used to make pro-Iran videos, pro-revolution videos, and like the backlash was extreme. That's part of the reason I got fired from my last job. It was the psychotic Iranian monarchists and people who aligned with them emailing my job and demanding that I be fired. Like the backlash was unreal. My comments would be filled with people just raging at me. But then once the genocide in Palestine started and everybody realized that Iran was the one giving material support to the Palestinians, it really changed the left's perspective on Iran and made it way more positive. And now with the assassination of Khamenei, people are looking deeper into what the Iranian Revolution actually was, what they actually did, and what it actually stands for. And they're realizing that a lot of these protests are like Israel arming ISIS cells in Iran, which is, it's so ironic that the Western propagandists call Iran the #1 state sponsor of terror, because Iran is probably the #1 enemy of terrorism in the world. Iran hates Wahhabi extremism. Iran hates Daesh or ISIS, these extremist groups who are strategically and militarily aligned with the U.S. and Israel. Qasem Soleimani was one of the leaders of the fight against ISIS and al-Qaeda in Syria and Iraq. After the U.S. overthrew Iraq's government and allowed ISIS to become extremely powerful, Soleimani was the one fighting them, and we killed him. And after 9/11, Iran and the revolution offered their deepest condolences to the U.S. and said that they would fight side by side with us despite their long-standing beef with the U.S. They said they would fight side by side with us against the terrorists. And then a month later, George Bush gave this speech saying that Iran was part of the axis of evil because Bush was the one who freaking did it. Allegedly. But the #1 state sponsors of terror in the Middle East are the U.S. and Israel, and it always has been. Who gave Osama bin Laden and the Mujahideen all those guns and billions of dollars in the 80s? It was the United States. And that splintered into a lot of the terror groups that we see today. And Iran has always fought against them, always. So the deeper you look into the Iranian Revolution, the more you realize how ass backwards all the propaganda is. And the more you realize these protesters are right-wing extremists being armed and supported by the U.S. and Israel. And the revolution has a right to suppress them. They should suppress them. What are your thoughts on David Irving and the culture of critique? I don't know much about David Irving. Is he the Isn't he the Holocaust guy? We'll just leave it at that. Yeah, he is. He is. That's what I thought. I actually do know a little bit about him. I've never read him. But yeah, we can get into that another day. There's a lot of I have a lot of interesting analysis to make of the Holocaust and how it is remembered in the especially the American consciousness. It's very interesting that 27 million Soviets were killed and all of these communists like Ernst Thälmann were wiped out and murdered in the fighting in Germany's effort to conquer all of Europe. And yet all we remember or all we hear about in school for the most part is the targeting of Jews, which Hitler did rail against the Jews in all of his speeches and in Mein Kampf. And of course, Jews were targeted and killed. But you know, people think like 6 million Jews were gassed and that's it. That's the whole Holocaust. And it's like, that's not the whole story, guys. But the reason why that's in the American consciousness is because of the Zionist lobby and all this money that Israel dumped into our education system, into these museums and American textbook companies and all of this. So we have a very distorted, and you know, in the 1950s, Americans didn't even know the word Holocaust. It didn't become a fixture in the public consciousness until the 1960s, when Israel realized that they could weaponize the memory of World War II and the Holocaust in order to justify their own mass murder of the Palestinians. So people should read The Holocaust Industry before David Irving, though, for sure. By Finkelstein. $5 super chat. Thank you, comrade. Appreciate it. The Shah's son is a predator. He at 25 dated his wife when she was 15, married her when she was 17. Spread the word. It's on Wikipedia. Okay. I mean, who's surprised? Who's surprised? It's like you look into any one of these people, any one of these Western regime change advocates, anybody that Israel and the US is backing, and they're all like predators. And it's because they have no morals, they have no ethic, they have no faith, they have no empathy. The only thing that they care about is money and power. That's their God. That's their God. And when you have no sort of principles or ethical basis or any kind of, if you're just chasing money and degeneracy and more thrills and more, you just want to consume, that's where you end up, being a friggin' pedophile. So that doesn't surprise me at all. It's the logical conclusion of their worldview. It really is. Get bored after a while and you got to do the most freakish shit imaginable. Well, thanks for letting us know. I didn't know that, but I will spread the word. Dude, how does the Shah's nose keep getting bigger and bigger? I swear to God. I've never seen such a large nose in my life. We shouldn't even call him the Shah anymore because he's not. He's just a guy who the CIA funds. Like, look at it. In this image, his nose isn't even that big, right? But like, in the newer videos of him, his nose has like tripled in size. I know people's noses get bigger as they age, but it's like, what the hell's going on there? One sec, let me find it. Yeah, look at this. Bro, look at that thing. Look at that hog. His nose is covering half of his face. Bro is like Pinocchio. The more that he lies, the bigger that shit gets. Oh, what's so funny is that Trump was like, Trump was talking about how the Shah isn't popular in Iran, so he can't lead Iran. They need somebody more popular. It's like, bro, this guy might as well just jump off a bridge at this point. You're never getting your monarchy back, bud. Did you guys see the Shah get prank called though? That's so funny if you haven't seen it. It's those Russian pranksters who like prank called Zelensky or like some members. Maybe they prank called the EU, like some EU officials, and asked them about Zelensky and got them to say all this wild stuff. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, look at this. They pretended to be ambassadors from Germany. And one of them had a Hitler stash and he called himself Adolf. He introduced himself as Adolf. And the Shah like didn't think anything of it. Watch this. It's so funny.
Who's coming?
That's great. And Reza Pahlavi is coming as well. I was just making sure the line was open. I'm just going to move into the room where he is. He's just finishing another meeting.
Oh. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, dear Prince Pahlavi. So we're waiting for Adolf.
No problem, we'll wait.
Yeah,
Okay. How do you like Munich?
It's cold and rainy, so I can't say it's the best of times.
Oh, yes.
Bro,
Yes.
look at that.
Now, this is my, I think, 4th time in Munich in the last year.
Oh, Adolf is here. Okay.
Hello.
Listen
Nice to meet you. Nice to see you.
Good afternoon.
I need to tell you that my father knew your father.
My father knew your father. Meaning the Shah's dad was aligned with Hitler and the Nazis. Bro, this is too good. These guys are hilarious.
How come?
Really? Yes. And,
What was that? Was it, he has
Grandfather, Adolf's grandfather.
yes.
That's very interesting.
Yes.
Good to know.
Okay, let's start. I'm glad to welcome you today.
And they say that Germany is ready to start bombing Iran as well. And the Shah is like, good. We need as many people bombing Iran as possible so I can be put in power. And then at the end, his CIA handler realizes what's going on and ends the call. He literally has his fucking CIA handler hop on screen and pull him away. God, so funny. Those guys are too good. He hasn't realized yet? No, he didn't realize. Even after the dude called himself Adolf with a Hitler mustache, claiming to be from Germany. Bro, it's too good. Thank you for another 5. Appreciate it. Thoughts on AJ Ferrari? He's a very good wrestler. Very interesting character, that AJ Ferrari. I'm pretty sure he's like anti-Israel too. I don't know. I feel like I've seen him liking some based memes. The Shah is so stupid, yeah. And that's the guy who thinks he's gonna be the leader of Iran. Yeah, those guys are awesome. I don't know what their name is. They're these Russian prank callers. They do it all the time though. They are always prank calling warmongers. It's so funny. This is Tehran, by the way. They're just carpet bombing civilians at this point. This is one of the most densely populated areas in the Middle East. This beautiful civilization. They're bombing homes. They're bombing schools. They're bombing houses. Because that's the only way these people know how to fight. They could never win a fair fight. They're called Lexus and Vovon. Okay. Well, Lexus and Vovon deserve a pat on the back. And $7,000 deposited in their accounts. Here's more scenes from Tehran.
What?
So Iran is launching these precision strikes against U.S. military bases in the region, and the U.S. and Israel respond by bombing their homes and bombing their schools. And Pete Hegseth is out here drunkenly talking about death and destruction. We will continue to rain death and destruction on them. Who's we, buddy? Who's we, Pete Hegseth? I just see you pounding beers here in America. I don't see you strapping up with a gun and going to Iran. Who the hell is we? You aren't fighting a war. By the way, let's continue to get Send Baron Trump trending. Send Baron is the most based trending topic I've ever seen in my life because it's so true. There's a freaking Iowan, because I'm from Iowa, if you don't know. There's a 20-year-old Iowan, not even old enough to drink, from West Des Moines, who was killed over there. And now recently another Iowan from Indianola, which is somewhat close to my area, who was killed in Iran. And Pete Hegseth is out here talking about we are going to rain death and destruction. There's no we, bitch. There's no we. You're not sending your kids. You're not going over there. Barron Trump is playing golf and sipping cocktails at Mar-a-Lago or Epstein's Island with daddy's money. Talking about we. Send your own kids next time, you scumbags. They never will. As I've been listening to System of a Down all day. The song Aerials hits really hard right now. And then what is it? BYOB.
Why do they always send the poor? They always send the poor.
Yep. The people who start the wars will never be those to fight the wars. Ever, 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 ever. That's how it works. ACP, though, in our war against the Epstein regime, you better believe our leadership will be at the front lines, or is at the front lines already. So recently, a U.S. Marine named David McGinnis, I believe, dressed in his full Marine uniform, including his medal that shows he was a combat veteran to show he actually served and actually fought, went to a Senate hearing to protest against the war on Iran, saying nobody wants to die for Israel. And not only was he attacked by Capitol Police, but he was attacked by a U.S. Senator named Tim Sheehy. Now, your boy did a little Google search on Tim Sheehy, and wouldn't you know it, the man received over $100,000 from AIPAC. So he was so aggressively trying to censor one of the Marines who he's trying to send to fight and die for Israel, because he was pointing out the reality, which is that this is a war to protect Israel and to protect the international banking class. So my response to this video went pretty viral, 3.8 thousand likes. But this guy, Nick Sorter, this guy is the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. He takes videos, he posts all these videos that make Trump look terrible, and he tries to spin them with the caption to make Trump look good. He is the biggest freaking fart-sniffing sycophant I've ever seen in my life. A disgusting bastard. Like, again, one of these people with no soul who, if there's an afterlife, he will be judged accordingly. But anyways, he posted this video and tried to make it seem like Tim Sheehy was a badass for trying to silence a U.S. Marine from saying the truth. But anyways, here's this guy. He's a Green Party candidate for Senate, I believe. Former U.S. Marine, and he got his hand broken in this altercation because his hand gets stuck in a door. Warning: this is a little bit hard to watch because you can see his hand getting stuck in the door in some of the videos.
Ow! No one wants to fight for Israel.
His hand! Oh, his hand!
You see his arm break.
Let go of your hand. Let go of the door.
because these idiots are just hauling him out. They don't realize his hand is stuck. They break his arm. What a badass that guy is, though. This guy, Brian McGinnis, legend. Obviously, I'm not in the Green Party. I'm in the ACP, but respect for a real one. Mad respect.
I'm here in D.C. trying to speak out against the Senate and ask them why they're going to send our men and women to harm's way when our elected officials said that there would be no world war. Anybody who feels disillusioned and betrayed by our government, you're not alone. Join us in demanding accountability for this betrayal. Free Palestine, free America. Let's go. Hey guys, I'm here in DC trying to speak.
He even dropped our slogan, Free America to Free Palestine. Badass. What a badass. I'll vote for this guy. He runs in my area. I wonder if he posted the video of himself. He didn't. Let's see if we can find a video posted by someone better than that Nick Sorter scumbag. This guy's gained like 20,000 followers in the last hour. Where's the video? Here we go.
No one wants to fight for Israel.
His hand.
Oh, that's hard to watch, the hand breaking. But look at him. Bro doesn't flinch. You see this, Pete Hegseth? You see this, you rich pedophiles in Washington? This is what a fucking man looks like. Fuck you. This is a man. You are child raping, pedophilic psychos who worship Baal and worship the dollar. This is the kind of guy you're actually sending to fight these wars on your behalf. And these people claim to support the troops and love the veterans until the veterans tell you the truth about their experience overseas. Until the veterans start speaking their mind, then they beat them and break their hands and drag them out and do anything to silence them so they can't point out that you're a bunch of APAC cucks. Man, that gets me fired up. Hell yeah, Brian McGinnis. Hell yeah. We need more of this, guys. These politicians should know no rest. These are child killers. These are child rapists trying to cover up their crimes. These people should be confronted at every turn by the American people who they're supposed to serve. The American people who they promised that they would invest in. They promised that they would end the wars, bring peace, invest here at home. And they lied because they have no souls. This is a man with a soul. This is the soul of America right here. Conservative, liberal, freaking independent. Nobody wants this war. Nobody wants this war except for people who are being paid and boomers who are just both retarded and arrogant at the same time. Like so arrogant. Boomers are like the most brainwashed people, and then they look down at us and the younger generations. You guys want socialism? You're brainwashed. Anyways, let's go bomb an elementary school because that'll bring Iranian people freedom. And then their women can start an OnlyFans account. What a man. Hell yeah. Everyone follow Brian McGinnis. I don't even care that he's a Green Party. What an American hero.
Oh.
That's what a real man looks like. Could you imagine how much Trump would be crying if he got his hand broken? Trump, who's got soft baby hands because he's never worked a day in his life. That is what America is all about, not these pedophilic war criminals. The people need power. Yes, Yes, that's what we're fighting for at the American Communist Party, which you can join at acp.us. It's always thank you for your service until we have something anti-imperial to say. Then it's violence and censorship. Yep. Thank you for your service until you explain to the American people that your service was actually for the benefit of Epstein criminals. Until you explain that you were the real, or that the Americans were the real terrorists overseas. Then it's shut up. We're going to break your hand and drag you out of the room while we continue to rake in AIPAC money and visit Israel and kiss the wall on paid vacations. Down with the pedo Epstein regime. All out war on the Epstein class. The only war that we should be fighting. The war against the pedophile bankers who occupy our country. And the only way to do that, join the American Communist Party at acp.us, or by doing stuff like what Brian McGinnis did there, confronting these cowards head on, because they are cowards. I saw it on Upscrolled earlier today. Nice. I got to keep uploading to Upscrolled. My Upscrolled was growing like crazy.
John, what country has the most incompetent?
Have you guys seen all of these videos of John Kiriakou going on viral on TikTok? They're so funny. Not to change the subject. Build the anti-Epstein coalition. Yeah, and that's the thing. Sorry to continue on this point for a second before we talk about Kiriakou. The ACP wants to build a united front right now against the Epstein class. Anybody who's willing to fight against these imperialist pedophiles, we will work with you. That's what we want to form, is a united coalition against these freaks. And the Marxist-Leninists will always be the vanguard, the leadership, because we have theory and we understand the system on a deeper level than the average person. But even if you don't understand theory, you can join the party and we'll teach you theory. Or you can just ally with us and help us fight against the Epstein regime. And, you know, allow us to handle the theory and the economic policy and the things like that. But let's form a united front against these freaks. If you're tired of being ruled by debt-trapping pedophile war criminals, let's fight. Let's fight the propaganda war. And eventually, we'll fight for political power for the working people. Just like the Chinese Liberation Front under Mao. There you go, brother. I can tell you've been reading your Mao. Let's go. Exactly. Exactly. So many people from all across the ideological landscape are willing to join such a coalition. I've already spoken to many people on social media who hate the Epstein class. You're right. People are tired of being ruled by pedophiles who promise us peace and then bring us all out war and send our friends to die. But anyways, John Kiriakou is going viral on TikTok, and it's so funny.
Spies. I have to say that I laughed out loud when I read this for the first time.
I haven't seen
Wow,
this one.
where do you even begin? I don't want to offend anybody, but the Iranian intelligence service is terrible. It's just terrible.
That's not good to hear.
It's deeply infiltrated, mostly by the Israelis.
It's a harsh truth. Israel has infiltrated basically every country. Every country has to step up their intelligence. Let's see here. Let me find one of the funny ones.
And then they decided, no, it's not a good idea to dose our own people.
Let's just dose strangers.
And my phone would ring at, midnight, and a guy would say,
The rain in Spain falls mainly in the plain.
You might be right, but he also says some base stuff and exposes the CIA.
And I'd say, Maresy Dotes and Dozy Dotes and Little Lambsy Ivy. And that means, meet me at the yacht club parking lot in 3 hours. She would say, where are you going? It's midnight.
I gotta work.
So I'd leave, I'd do my meeting, I'd come home, 6 o'clock in the morning, just in time to shower and shave and get dressed to go to work. And she would say,
What was her name?
the truth is,
I had been sitting in a garbage dumpster, waiting for a guy to drive by down the alley and throw a bag of documents in. And I stunk.
of garbage. And I said to her,
Do I seriously smell to you like I've been with a woman? Seriously.
so we ended up getting a divorce. You know, you can't
force hummus up someone's rectum, for example.
right?
You can't play Russian roulette with them.
You can't, you know, they learned Abu Zubaydah had an irrational fear of insects.
And so they put him in a coffin and they dumped a box of cockroaches in there with him.
Anyways, he was a whistleblower who blew the whistle on the CIA's torture program, but he's also like a charismatic guy and a good speaker. And he's just been blowing up on TikTok. It is so funny. Some of the stuff he says, like, you're right, he may still be doing CIA work by saying some of it, but some of it is so funny. It is comedy. I wanted to play this real quick. Actually, let's do this one first. I already kind of talked about this, but these are some of the TikToks I've been pumping out this week. My views will always be stuck at like 5 views, and then it's allowed to climb up a little bit. But these same videos that are doing like average on TikTok are getting like hundreds of thousands of views on Instagram. So I know Larry Ellison and Oracle are suppressing me somehow.
So American-Israeli war criminals like Marco Rubio are continually saying that we are attacking Iran so that they can't develop a nuclear weapon. But let me explain to you why this war actually makes it more likely that Iran will produce a nuke. Right now, there is a fatwa in Iran, which is basically a religious political law that says they're not allowed to produce a nuclear weapon. And this law was created by Ayatollah.
Look how based my commenters are. This guy, I have the most based audience in the world. You guys in the chat included. This guy says, I wonder why the U.S. doesn't attempt to install democracy in North Korea. Basically saying that Iran should build a nuke based.
Ali Khamenei himself, because he said that nuclear weapons unalive too many civilians indiscriminately, so it would be against Islam. But now Ali Khamenei, the guy who made that law, has been assassinated by the United States. And the new Ayatollah could very well change the rule that says Iran won't make nuclear armaments. There would just need to be enough religious and political will in the country in order to do so, which is becoming more and more likely the more that the U.S.
This is true. Maybe this is why boomers are so brainwashed, because they were the last people to live when we still had the gold standard, before our economy could become entirely financialized and debt-based, before the banks could just print money for themselves for more endless war spending. Maybe that has something to do with it. It's a good theory there, my friend.
And Israel bomb them. So if anything, we are pressuring them into a situation where they'll feel that they have to create a nuclear weapon. Most Iranians were perfectly happy not having a nuke until we started bombing their schools and homes. So every strategic justification for this war is complete nonsense. It's like even dumber than weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Not only is America run by very evil men, but we're also run by idiots.
I shouldn't laugh at myself, that's lame, but that was a good line by me. I heard it's not even a fatwa about Khamenei interpreting a fatwa about chemical weapons from Khomeini as applied to nuclear weapons as well. Seems super weak. Yeah, and a fatwa can be overturned easily. There just has to be the religious and political will to do it. And who, depending on who they replace the Ayatollah with, which I've heard it's going to be Khomeini's grandson or something, they could very, very easily overturn that and build a nuclear weapon. It's not like set in stone. It's not final. Even because Khamenei wasn't. The Iranian constitution said you had to be a certain level of religious leader in order to become Ayatollah, and Khamenei was not one of those. I can't think of the name. It starts with an M. One of my Muslim brothers in the chat helped me out. But according to the constitution, Khamenei shouldn't have become the Ayatollah. But when they were picking the new leader, somebody came out and said that Khomeini wanted Khamenei to be his successor, that he had said that before he died. So they amended the constitution in order to make it so that Khamenei could be the Ayatollah. So there's a lot of adaptability in in the constitution of Iran itself, but even beyond that, I mean, but the fatwas are even easier to change. It's all about interpretation of Islam. So you could very easily say Looking at the conditions today, you could change that and issue a new religious order that says, no, we have to build a nuclear weapon for the sake of peace. It's not Mufti. It's something else. I can look it up. One sec. It was Marja, a Marja-e-Taqlid, which means source of emulation, which is the highest rank of religious authority. Marja-e-Taqlid. And Khamenei was not one of those. But they changed the constitution because they knew that he would be the best leader. And he was a good leader. He should have built the nuke, though. Should have built the nuke. Actually, let's watch this one, too, because this is good. Because Trump is talking about sending ground troops to Iran, which is absolutely insane that he would even float that idea. And it will probably become a reality because, you know, they're not going to get the Iranians to submit just with bombs. If they want regime change, they're eventually going to have to commit ground troops. And this will be a disaster for the U.S. and Israel. Because geographically, Iran is built like a fortress. This is part of what made the Persian Empire so powerful.
But Trump is now saying that he may commit ground troops to Iran, which in my opinion would be one of the worst geopolitical decisions in all of human history. Because not only did Trump promise Americans that he wouldn't send troops abroad, but also Iran looks like this.
They'd have to go from the east. This guy said, I agree. That's what I was thinking as well. They would have to come in from the east, which actually, let's just go to Google Earth. So they would have to come from this way for sure.
Their geography alone makes the country almost impossible to invade because they're completely surrounded by mountains. This is one of the main reasons why Persia had such a powerful empire, because it was almost impossible to send ground troops in to attack their major cities. But now Trump is telling us that he might send young Americans to fight and die in these mountains on behalf of the Epstein class, against Iranian people who are defending their country, their families, their sovereignty. There is a 100% chance that this would be a disaster for the United States. And it hurts my heart that America's leader is really considering sending young Americans to fight and die in the mountains on behalf of the Epstein regime. How many people need to come back in caskets so that the US can debt trap Iran? Or so Israel can take out one of their major enemies in the region? The answer to that question should obviously be zero, but unfortunately we're run by psychopaths and Epsteinites. But Trump is...
So, I mean, that's why the Persian Empire was so powerful, or one of the main reasons, and why the Ottomans, why Europe couldn't conquer the Ottomans. This guy says they'd have to come in through the east, which is true, which would be Afghanistan, which would be difficult politically because the U.S. is no longer in Afghanistan. They pulled out under Biden. So Afghanistan is now under the governance of the Taliban. And not only is Western Iran nothing but mountains, but Eastern Iran and Afghanistan is desert, right? It's pure desert that doesn't have that much U.S. military presence anymore. And that's the reason, part of the reason the war in Afghanistan was such a disaster, because outside of Kabul, the main city, it's all desert, like feudal warlord territory. So not only would they be, you know, facing resistance from the Afghanis, who would probably fight alongside the Iranians in a situation like this, as this event is uniting Sunni and Shia and people all across the Muslim world. But these U.S. troops would have to travel across the desert into Iran, which would make them easy to pick off with ballistic missiles, which is what I'm sure they're trying to do right now, take out Iran's ballistic missile capacity. Hopefully Iran is saving up ballistic missiles for a situation like this, but they would have to transport people a really long way through the desert, you know, where they would be lacking supplies and things like that because the U.S. doesn't actually produce anything anymore. So it'd just be a very difficult situation for them, and countless Americans would die. Countless. Who's winning now? It's impossible to say. And I'm an economist and a geopolitical analyst more so than a military analyst. And I'm not one of, I've learned to distrust these people who are always like, the U.S. is losing, Israel's losing. Because sometimes people tend to be too optimistic with that and underestimate the power that these Western imperialists have. The U.S. is way overextended and the empire is declining, but they're still very powerful, and you shouldn't underestimate them. They basically decapitated Hezbollah in Lebanon, killed Nasrallah, and the same with Assad in Syria. And a lot of people said that wouldn't happen, a lot of these military analysts, but the U.S. and Israel are bombing a bunch of civilians while Iran has taken out a ton of military targets and radars and cost the U.S. billions and billions of dollars, which the U.S. can basically just take more money from us, the taxpayer, and print more money because of the petrodollar system and the U.S. dollar being the world's reserve currency. So it's hard to say who's actually winning. The U.S. could end up creating regime change in Iran, but it would be extremely costly for them. But a ground invasion, that would lead to the deaths of, it'd be like Iraq. That would lead to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of U.S. troops. It'd be like Iraq times 10. And even if they did overthrow Iran, imagine the Pandora's box that would open up. Like I said, Iran is the country that's holding a lot of these Wahhabi extremist groups and jihadist terrorists at bay. And if you toppled the government, those extremist groups would take over and run amok and in that power vacuum, and it would lead to so many needless deaths. Trump and these idiots in Washington have no idea the Pandora's box they're opening, even if they do win. But yeah, I don't know if they would win, though. I don't know if they can. I don't know. What do you think will end up happening? It's hard to make any predictions. Optimistically, I want to say that Iran will repel them and the U.S. will go home with their tails between their legs. It's either that or the U.S. successfully overthrows their government and the entire region is thrown into civil war and different terror groups and warlords fighting for power in the vacuum that's created, just like what happened in Iraq. But Iran is not Iraq, right? Iran has a much greater military capacity than Iraq did, for sure. Like, it's not even close. So, and like I said, they're uniting. There's like people in Kuwait cheering and Bahrain cheering every time a U.S. military base in their own country gets hit by Iran. So, yeah, the Kurds are already launching like a ground invasion, though. The Kurds, the eternal puppets of the U.S. State Department. We're going to get Kurdistan. They're going to give us Kurdistan this time. We just have to fight for the CIA one more time, and they'll give us Kurdistan. No, fuck up. Sounds like Vietnam 2.0, yeah, right? Vietnam, but in the desert. Vietnam, but like mixed with Afghanistan. Iran would have to adopt the tactics of the Iraqi insurgency. Absolutely, yep. I'm still shocked at what happened at the Senate Assembly. Yeah, I don't know if you were here, but we covered that already. We watched his arm break. That was a powerful moment. That was a very powerful moment. That's a moment that'll go down in U.S. history for sure. But anyways, Marco Rubio, I'm sure you guys have already seen this, and Marco Rubio has been doing damage control and trying to backtrack. But he admitted in an interview by accident, because I know it was by accident because he was trying to backtrack later, that Israel forced the U.S.'s hand. That Israel basically forced the U.S. to launch a preemptive strike in the middle of negotiations.
This video is going viral all across the internet right now because Marco Rubio just admitted that Israel is dragging the U.S. into this war with Iran. Listen to him say that the U.S. had to attack Iran because Israel was going to spark this war regardless.
Second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all.
We knew that Israel was going to launch an attack, so we had to attack them first because that would have led to them attacking us. That's what he just said, which isn't even true. Iran would have just targeted Israel like they did with Operation True Promise 2 and 3. They wouldn't have hit U.S. military bases if it wasn't a U.S.-Israeli joint strike on Iran and the supreme leader, the Ayatollah. Supreme leader is just an English word that they use to try and demonize Iran. It's like regime, basically. But anyways, he admitted it. He said that Israel was going to attack them, so we had to attack them first. Israel was going to do it anyways, so we had to do it with them. They're admitting it at this point, folks. They're saying the quiet part out loud.
I'll be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
Do these psychotic neocons even hear themselves when they speak? We had to attack Iran because Israel was going to attack Iran. So if we didn't attack Iran first, Iran would have attacked us because we have their entire country surrounded with U.S. military.
It could be fake news about the Kurds. I saw that on Fox News at the gym today. So it could be totally fake.
Bases. Like, how about we pull out of the Middle East, reinvest all of these resources here at home, and let Israel fight their own battles? I mean, that's what Donald Trump campaigned on, but you guys seem to have completely forgotten.
Isn't that a funny image? I've been sharing that all over today, even on my personal accounts where I'm usually somewhat apolitical and just post about wrestling and my wrestling club. But I don't care, dude. It's not good for business. It's not good for my wrestling club to be posting about politics and war, but I don't give a shit. People need to wake up. People in my personal life need to wake up. I'm tired of them being ignorant sheep. Isn't this a crazy image? Vote the pro-peace ticket. Vote Trump, Vance. What a crock of shit. What a crock of shit. And don't even get me started on Tulsi Gabbard, the anti-regime change war lady.
It's not a good justification to say we had to go to war with Iran because the country...
And, you know, this is an amazing image, too, for other reasons. Man, we should have known that Trump was an Epstein associate pedo just from this picture. Sometimes you can really judge a book by its cover, you know.
We give billions of dollars to was good.
Are they using hypersonics consistently? I've seen a few videos of them firing the hypersonics, but I have a feeling they're saving a lot of those in the tank. I think they're, like I said, I think they know there's eventually going to be a ground invasion, and they know that the U.S. is going to have to come through the desert in the east, and they're probably going to use a lot of their ballistics and hypersonics to light up those ground forces, which... Yay, I'm glad my friends from wrestling who joined the military for free college are going to get lit up with Iranian hypersonics because Trump's a pedo and he wants Americans to forget that he's a pedo. What a country. We live in an idiocracy.
Going to go to war with Iran anyways. You're basically just saying the quiet part out loud at this point. You're just too dense to realize it. You guys are traitors to America who put Israel's interests above our own people's.
What an idiot. I can't believe he said that. That was like the one thing he couldn't say. And he said it. Now, this lady, I got one more video. This lady, Tulsi Gabbard, the lady who built her career on anti-war politics, who left the Democratic Party to join the Republicans because Trump promised to be the pro-peace candidate, who now has the blood of thousands, soon to be hundreds of thousands, probably tens and hundreds of thousands on her hands. What a traitorous witch Tulsi Gabbard turned out to be, huh?
Of all the Trump administration officials who are sending us into a criminal war with Iran, I think perhaps Tulsi Gabbard's legacy will be the worst. Because when Trump promised to be the pro-peace candidate, I think...
Why no movement to impeach Trump? Because there's no real opposition party besides the American Communist Party, which you can join at acp.us. Because the Democrats want this war. Hillary Clinton said that if she was president, she would have invaded Iran. She said that in 2008, years ago. So when it comes to foreign wars or debt trapping the American people or debt trapping people abroad, the Democrats and Republicans are on the same page. Operation Epstein Fury, that's right.
A lot of intelligent people knew that he was lying, myself included. But when it comes to Tulsi Gabbard, she has built her entire career on being the no more regime change wars lady. The reason she supposedly joined the Trump administration was because he said he was going to bring an end to all of these endless wars. In fact, she's even explicitly stated in the past that there should be no war with Iran.
Look at that. No war with Iran. This is why she's popular. This is why. Because she said what Americans wanted to hear. No more wars. I don't get how this lady sleeps at night while she's bombing elementary schools and creating what will end up being the most disastrous war of this century. If this continues and the U.S. commits ground troops, this will be even more disastrous than Iraq. I mean, George Bush just got let off the hook. He's no longer the biggest war criminal of this century.
Ever. And yet here she is helping the administration that is starting a war with Iran that assassinated their leader. Now that she's not in the military anymore and she doesn't have to go fight these wars, she's all in favor. And that will be her legacy. That is how you will be remembered, Tulsi Gabbard, as the scam artist who tricked the American people into thinking that you were going to bring about peace. You are a liar, you are a coward, and we, the American people, will never forget or forgive. You scammed us and you are a disgrace.
Iran's still using old stock. Yeah, that's what I thought. They're using their older missiles and saving a lot of the hypersonics and the newer stuff for the future because they know that this is going to be a prolonged conflict and they're targeting U.S. radars, right? They're trying to get the U.S. to spend more and more money on this war and depleting the Israeli Iron Dome with their older missiles so that as the war heats up, they can start blasting them with hypersonics and more advanced technology and advanced weapons, which a lot of those come from Russia and China. They make a lot of their own, but a lot of the materials, and I saw someone earlier, I can't find it, but they were asking what Russia and China are doing. But also Russia and China need to be more like the DPRK, I'm sorry. They need to realize that if Iran gets picked off, then they will be next. They should get more involved. They really should. I understand why they do what they do, but you know, China's still out here talking about international law. You know, this is a violation of international law. Like, guys, international law is dead. You guys are Marxists. You should know this, right? I love China. I support China. China is socialist, the most advanced country on earth by far. But there is no international law. There is only imperialism versus socialism and communism. There is only the ruling Epstein class, the owning class, versus the working class. And the working class is in power in China. But, you know, international law is not going to do shit. The only way to stop these people is through force. International law, you know, Marxists should all know that the legal system, whether it's the international legal system or a domestic legal system, is only a reflection of the mode of production. The mode of production is what creates and informs the legal system. And we have a hyper-financialized, debt-trapping, Epstein-owned mode of production, neoliberal capitalist mode of production. And international law reflects that. They can wring their hands at Israel all they want. It doesn't do anything. The only language that these colonial powers understand is force. The only time that Israel ever gave land back was in 1973 when they got their asses whooped by Nasser in Egypt. Maybe, I think it was still Nasser at the time. So, and they're giving missiles and signing strategic partnerships and military partnerships, but Give them a nuke or something. Come on. That's my little, my soft critique. Oh, this is funny. I guess we're just going through my funniest TikToks right now.
Trump and all of his supporters in government are currently crashing out as they desperately try to justify their illegal war of aggression against Iran. Listen to Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna trip all over herself as she attempts to give the justification for these recent bombings. And yes, this is really her.
Can you just tell me really quickly, where have they killed thousands of Americans in America?
I didn't say they killed thousands of Americans in America. I said that they have been responsible for thousands of Americans being killed. And I think that that's easily something that you can verify. I don't know, state-sponsored terrorism for starters. Why don't you, are you serious right now about that whole thing? I'm not going to list out exact
No, I mean, just give me,
specific locations.
are you talking about,
Terrorism.
Are you talking about the Iraq
Well,
war
you
where the
can
U.S.
start out by the
invaded
three
Iraq?
that you can start out by the three that they just killed. Okay, the whole point of your network, if you want to actually talk about the facts here, I'm giving you the facts. But I'm not going to sit here and argue with you about something that's commonly accepted and known.
Congresswoman. You don't have a good understanding of the
Well, I'm the one that's getting the briefings, not you. You're a pundit offering your opinion because you want clickbait, but aren't actually interested in the substance.
No, not at all.
We can
I was
talk about
actually
the fact
asking you.
that Obama sent millions of...
She accuses him of not engaging with the substance. He's trying to engage with the substance. He asked you when Iran has attacked America and killed Americans, like you said, and you had a meltdown and said, have you ever heard of state-sponsored terrorism? Ever heard of it, idiot? Duh, state-sponsored terrorism. So, that's all I gotta say. State-sponsored terrorism. Oh, you mean like when their state went to war with ISIS? When their state offered to help us fight extremist groups after 9/11 and we said no because we're actually friends with those extremist groups and we wanted 9/11 to happen so we could invade you?
On millions of dollars to the Iranian regime, or do you not want to address that because it's not supported by your opinion and your network?
No, not at all.
Is this really
Fake news, fake news. These people are all dollar store Trumps. They're like trying to do what Trump did in 2016, but it's like so old and played out by now, and everybody knows they're just full of shit. So they like try to use the same talking points. You know, you're liberal media. You're a liar. It's like, no, you're just too retarded to answer the very basic question that he just asked you or defend your ridiculous claims.
even something that we're going to actually get
Well, it seems like you just want to.
are you going to
It seems
continue
like you
to
just want to
attack us?
filibuster. No, it seems like you just want to filibuster. It seems like you don't really want to have a good faith conversation.
Have you ever heard of state-sponsored terrorism?
Iran's hypersonics are crazy. I saw a few videos. It's wild how fast that stuff is. It is, dude. It's freaking wild. It's like, boom. Yeah, I can't wait to watch my good friends and my old wrestling teammates get obliterated by those because a fucking pedophile president wants to cover up the fact that he's in the Epstein files. I am so sick right now, dude. I'm so worried about them. I know that shouldn't, there's the geopolitical analyst in me and the Marxist in me who wants Iran to be victorious and defend their sovereignty. And obviously that's what I support, but I'm also just scared for my friends who got brainwashed into fighting for pedo bankers. I hope that Iran just captures them and re-educates them rather than blasting them with hypersonic missiles. Because these people don't know, bro. They signed up. They got tricked by recruiters. The recruiters brought in that little pull-up bar, and they did 10 pull-ups, and the recruiters are like, wow, you're really strong. You ever thought about fighting for pedo bankers in the Middle East? We'll give you free college. And they're like, sure. Next thing you know, they're getting blasted by Iranian hypersonics.
Does that ring a bell to you? Or are you some kind of liberal? Oh, he asked you the most basic question possible. You couldn't give an answer, and you want to accuse him of not engaging with the substance? The reason you couldn't answer his question is because you're completely full of shit. You're just repeating talking points that you had given to you by staffers or that you heard on Fox News. Iran is not being aggressive towards the United States and Israel. We are being aggressive towards them. We have their country surrounded with U.S. military bases, and we're currently using them to launch rockets at civilians there. You are the ones who started this war by unaliving their supreme leader. This is insane, dude. We literally live in the movie Idiocracy. We are run by bikini models with 2 brain cells. And they're not even good-looking bikini models, okay? We can't even get that. Sorry, but true. Trump.
Yep. If you haven't seen this movie, it's about America in the future when we're run by like a WWE wrestler who's like, and everybody's been dumbed down to the point where our system of government is now called an idiocracy rather than like an oligarchy. Turned out that this was a documentary and we're currently living in it. Thank you, Emperor Lucifer. Interesting name. I don't know about that, but thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you, brother. Trump is Emperor Lucifer. U.S. power only works when the enemy isn't willing to strike back. Love you guys, Eddie. Keep up the great work, comrade. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. You're absolutely right. That's what I've been saying about this war for a while. The Iran war will be much deadlier for the U.S. than any other because they actually have the capacity to fight back. Absolutely. I hate that movie, Reactionary Genoid movie. Is it? That's the purpose about genes? Oh, wow. Well, Lysenko would disapprove. Yeah, it isn't the best movie. It's pretty reactionary, actually. But it is a good example of what we're living through right now. And it's funny. But yeah, you're right. It is a reactionary movie, for sure. I mean, there's no doubt about that. It basically argues that we're moving backwards rather than forwards in history, which, you know, history does trend forward. You need sometimes complete idiot bikini model leaders before you can realize that you need a revolution and actually install good, intelligent leaders. And that day will come. That's where idiocracy gets it wrong. There's no American Communist Party in idiocracy to bring America back to what it should be. It says low-class people with bad genes bred to... Yeah, no, it's stupid for sure. It's just a good analogy for when we're being ruled by idiots right now, but the dialectic is at work, and eventually we will move forward. History does trend towards progress. Prediction about this war, I already gave one earlier. 2 predictions. Either Iran wins and the U.S. leaves with their tail between their legs and gives a bunch of cope about how we were never actually at war. We just wanted to make sure they never got a nuke. Or they do succeed in toppling the government and a bunch of terror groups and warlords rise up in the power vacuum. Eddie, speaking of wrestling, is there a certain capitalist or reactionary you would like to have a wrestling match with? All of them. All of these feminine-ass Fox News hosts, like Jesse Waters, lying us into war while they put their makeup on and get plastic surgery because they're women, talking about sending young Americans to fight and die in a brutal conflict. I'd love to beat the shit out of all those people. Because they act like the biggest tough guys. Like, bro, you wear makeup and get plastic surgery to try to desperately hang on to your youth while you send real tough guys to fight and die on behalf of pedo bankers. Every single one of them. Every single Fox News host can catch the smoke. Me and Jake Shields will just line them all up and beat the shit out of them one by one. I know Jake is not right on every issue, but he's against war with Iran and he hates Israel as much as I do, and we will beat the shit out of all these corporate news hosts. Let me see if I can find a good idiocracy clip. This is the state of America right now. This is basically like the TPUSA halftime show.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of America! President Camacho! Sit your monkey ass down. Chill out. Shit. I know shit's bad right now.
Trump reading off the teleprompter. We won't end up in a full idiocracy. The ACP will win and will move society forward where it needs to be. This is a great time for communist organizing, but the far right can play into the Israel thing. Yeah, for sure. But even that, you can take people from the far right and move them towards communism too once they realize Israel's evil. But yeah, now is the time to strike. Now is the time to join the ACP and get involved. All right, everybody, it's past midnight. I better hit the hay. I appreciate you guys for hanging out and watching. This was a good stream. I'm back now that I'm in my new apartment, chilling here. We will be having many more streams to come. Thank you for all the super chats, by the way. Midwestern Marks could not do it without you guys, especially Duck Hash Browns with the 50. That was great. Thank you for all these super chats. You are the reason we're able to do what we do. We will continue to bring you guys streams. Hopefully, I'll be back with Carlos next time, and hopefully, we'll have a new episode of Metal Gear Red out soon about everything going on in Iran with me, Haas, Carlos, and one of the other ACP members. Make sure you subscribe. Join the party at acp.us. Ooh, one more super sticker on the way out. Thank you, Zydo. Appreciate it. Could not do it without you. Thank you guys for talking about the events. Next time, I'll try to stream a little bit earlier in the day. I know I was a little tired this stream, but I think it was good anyways. I'll have to make some clips out of this one. But thank you all. Go Iran. Stand with sovereignty all around the world, including here in America. We are occupied by the same pedo bankers who are trying to occupy Iran right now. And it's time to fight them. No war but the class war. All right. We'll see you guys on the next one. Solidarity.